More than 50% of the population in the United States have issues with attachment, and that means how it is that they form emotional bonds with other people. And this is so important because it impacts our relationships with our romantic partners, our friends, our colleagues, and of course, our relationship to ourselves and self-esteem. So my name is Bev. I created this channel to talk all things about attachment styles and how it impacts us throughout our life and our different life cycles. If this is something that is of interest to you, please give us a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends if you think it's worth sharing. Let's dive in. When we talk about secure versus insecure attachment, we're really talking about a set of patterns that we learned early in childhood. So someone that grew up with a secure attachment, they themselves feel very comfortable with themselves, identifying their emotion, trusting themselves, and they feel very comfortable with others, right? So for them, they look at the world through a lens of connection.
Ah, yes.
Yes. And so you can extrapolate from that the relationship patterns there would be someone who's understands their needs, who's very communicative, who is very good at setting and respecting other people's boundaries, and has a healthy set of coping mechanisms. So that's sort of generally where we're aiming towards when we're talking about secure attachment. When we're talking about insecure attachment, we're talking about folks who grew up in a home where they didn't get that sense of safety that they needed, right? So they feel unsafe. So they're carrying wounds like I will be abandoned, or I'm defective, or I will be betrayed. And of course, this shows up in our relationship patterns,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Very much so. So
Hmm.
someone who's anxiously attached and carrying the wound of I will be abandoned, um, they are usually from a relationship standpoint, there's quite a bit of emotional dysregulation, right? So they feel their feelings in a really big way. So one of the big things you'll see is this like emotional volatility. So it's like 1 minute they're happy, 1 minute they're sad, 1 minute they're angry. It's sort of like big, big emotions. On the other spectrum, on the avoidance side, we often see people who underfeel. So they tend to over rationalize, underfeel, repress their feelings because they haven't developed the modeling for how to handle their difficult feelings. So they tend to avoid their feelings, and if you're their partner, they'll avoid yours too.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so when we look at relationship patterns, what we're really looking for is a number of things: emotional regulation, the ability to feel our feelings, to communicate in a healthy way, and then go back to baseline. And also looking at trust. Trust you have in yourself, and trust that you afford to other people.
Interesting. Very interesting. I know another thing with the insecure or the what was it, the insecure attachment,
The anxiously
the
attached?
anxiously attached.
Mm.
When you were explaining about the big emotions, and I know for me, I'll go from being completely calm to completely upset, like
Mm.
from one end of the spectrum to the other. And that's
Yeah.
a real good indicator that something is really off, because it's one thing to realize and get angry or upset about something, but the emotion didn't match up with the problem or whatever is going on. It doesn't
Yeah.
match up.
It's such a good example. So we know that whenever someone responds emotionally with a reaction more than, let's say, 5 out of 10, like I like to put things on a scale, right?
Yeah, give you an
So,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. So if you sort of have a reaction that's more than a 5 out of 10, typically you're not reacting to what's in front of you. It's triggering something that's deeper, that's an unhealed wound. And so often, especially if you're the recipient of this, it'll feel like, why are they getting so upset? I just said that I preferred the other dress on you, like, for example, right?
Real innocent comment. Real innocent.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hurt her, but someone who grew up with a wound of, for example, I am not good enough, if you make a comment on how they're dressed, for example, it might really push that button, right? So we all have triggers, right? But the way in which the intensity hits us is a big indicator. So those that are more securely attached, it's not that they don't get triggered. They get triggered, but in a smaller way. They're able to talk themselves through it and then come back to baseline. When I say baseline, I mean I'm talking about our nervous system when we come back to rest and digest instead of being in this fight or flight mode, right? So we're able to handle those emotions in a much quicker way, a much more balanced way. Whereas someone who is carrying a deep wound, for example, they feel unlovable and they're in a relationship, let's say early dating, and they're casually dating someone and it's not even going that well, but the person breaks up with them because in their heart of hearts they know that this is not the right match. But being broken up with will really push on their button because they already have the wound inside of them that they are unlovable, right? So, again, we all have these triggers, and they do come out very much so in the context of relationships, especially romantic
Oh
relationships.
yeah.